Hi friends! Hi. I hope you are enjoying your summer. There's just so much to talk about. A lot has changed since my last upload 2 months ago. I am sitting here in my new home in the lovely city of Atlanta, Georgia. A lot has changed, so much with this relocation and just all of the things. I had been thinking about this move for over a year, but I needed to marinate on it. I needed to get quiet about it and really give it some thought. You know, like, have any of y'all ever been there where you just gotta, like, when you feel something intuitively, it's not always the wisest to just like hop on it right away. Like, give it some thought, think about it. So with such big transition, I want to talk to you about the power of starting anew and the ways in which that can affect your life and steps on how to steward that and make sense of it all, and some things that have helped me. On my channel, we are not strangers to talking about change, but in these past 2 months, it has been very, very transformative for me. I spent the last 7 weeks away and disconnected from the external to find out my instructions and to hear about my next steps for this book. And I'm very intentional about not calling it a new chapter because that would imply continuity. And this is not that. Like, this is something completely new. I feel different. I know that things are different in the best way. I'm still getting adjusted. As you can see, like, I have like moving boxes still everywhere, like nothing's on the walls. So I'm very much still in the thick of my transition, and I no better time to talk about it while I'm in it. Because things don't have to be perfect. I was like kind of thinking about like, oh, like, should I make my video like once I'm back and everything is like nice and beautiful? But that's just not real life, and I felt really called to share this now. So like, let's just jump into it. So let me ask you a question, and this is a question for those who are thinking about a big life change. What good is changing your environment if you don't have the tools you need? What has helped me with this transition, the first thing has been getting quiet and listening. So I said that when we first started, that it's very important to get quiet and go within, because when you're moving into either physically or metaphorically, but when you are moving from one point to another point, there is instruction in between. There are things that you just have to listen out for. There could be warnings. There could be really important messages that God is trying to bring forth to you. And if you miss those things, you may not be properly equipped for that next step. Even though that you had that instruction for that next step, there's stuff in between. So you don't want to ignore where you are and where you're about to go and missing what's in between. So getting quiet and listening for that has been imperative for this transition and helping me, hence why I disconnected for 7 weeks to just truly hear and go within. And boy, did I get some instruction. Boy, did I get messages and warnings and just so many downloads that I just don't think I would have gotten had I not taken that time. The other thing, which is probably a no-brainer, is getting off of social media. It's so hard, I think, to run your own race when you are looking left and right. And inevitably, with social media, we are consuming so much of what everybody else is doing that it can be tough for some of us to just stay focused on what God has for you. Like, what is he telling me? Because there is this theory, which I forget the name of it, but when you see other people with it, you think you want it. If I was like documenting this whole transition of me moving to Atlanta, and like someone who didn't, like maybe might have thought about Atlanta but not seriously, is like, oh, this is my sign. It's like, no, not necessarily. Like, so it's just really important to get clear on what is for you and what is in your lane and what God is telling you to do. And naturally that requires getting off of social media. That's what I did for the 7 weeks, and I'm still not even back on social media. By the time this video goes live, I probably will be. I would also say another thing that helped me in this time is spending time in nature and engaging in edifying and nourishing things. So I was doing a lot of cooking. I was doing a lot of just spending a lot of time outside. I was doing a lot of reading, just things to really pour into myself. So when that time usually would be spent, like, let's just say, on social media or watching Netflix or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with those things. But when you're trying to hear a download and trying to get messages and instruction, those things that are inherently not bad turn into distraction. So what I was doing to supplement my time was reading, cooking, going in nature, just spending time in, in the company of good friends and family. So I was really like just engaging in edifying and nourishing activities. I also spent time reflecting, journaling. There were during the 7 weeks of disconnecting, I was getting a lot of messages in my dreams. So I would spend time journaling about what was happening, or journaling about and taking inventory on how I was feeling day over day, to just be able to go back and look at it, but also to just clear out my head and make more room for the next day or for the next week that God wanted to speak to me. So it's like really like you have to make room, and that's what journaling allowed me to do, and also resting. The second thing that really helped me prepare for this big life change is releasing. And releasing can look like a lot of things, but how it looks like for me was when I left my New York, New Jersey apartment, I sold most of my belongings and only kept the things that really had value or meant something to me. So I think that like releasing and purging is a good practice to have to make space for more, and also to kind of realign with what matters. But another thing that really helped me in the form of release is crying. I cried a lot. And you know what? The crying like didn't really make a lot of sense to me. I couldn't really understand what it was rooted in. But I think there was grief, right? Like even though, and I talked about this in one of my previous videos about grief during the glow up, even though that I knew that I felt very aligned with this move and felt very aligned with what is the now, there was still grief about what I had built in New York for the past 5 years. There was still grief around like some of my favorite places, because I'm such a creature of habit that forcing myself into newness and thrusting myself in a new environment is not always super easy for me. And making new friends and finding my bearings and all of that, it feels like every day feels like the first day of school in this new season. So it's like, think about that feeling of first day of school. Like, who am I gonna sit with? Where am I gonna go? How am I gonna find my classes? Will I be running late? What will they think? Like, it was all of that, and it feels like that like every day until I get in my rhythm. So I think that there was some grief, of like, oh, but my old school, like I had my thing. So that like the crying was really that, like that grief of like my old school, but naturally I'm on to a different grade, right? Like I'm on to a different ascension. So it just kind of comes with new stuff. So releasing definitely came in the form of tears. I was crying, your girl was sad. And it still comes you know, from time to time, and I just allow it. So allow it. If it shows up for you during big life transitions, it's normal. You don't even have to have a reason for it. But I thought, I'm happy. Aren't I happy? And it's like, two things can be true at once. You could be grieving but also be happy. So I'm just like allowing space for it all and the complexities of just kind of being human. So the other thing on the tail of that, the other thing that really has helped me steward this transition, life's big transitions, is leaning into my tribe. So that's my boyfriend. That could be therapy for you, friends, family, a mentor, church, whatever your tribe looks like. Lean into them. You don't have to go at it alone. And let me tell you, I was humbled by the fact that I thought that I could steward this transition by myself. Like, I'm such like a strong, independent Black woman. I'm so that I sometimes I can hurt myself doing that. So I was just like, really not leaning into my tribe as much as I needed to at the beginning of the 7 weeks. But now I needed my whole tribe, in all of them in different ways that really helped me feel okay and helped me feel grounded and affirmed me and supported me and loved on me during this transition, that I definitely could not have done it without them, and I'm so grateful. So lean on your tribe. They want to help. Allow them to help. They love you. Number 4 is a good practice to think about. It is living purposely. There's a reason that you are thinking about making whatever change, fill in the blank, that you want to make. There's a reason that things are not hitting the same for you. There's a reason that you're feeling a little discontent. And you should get curious about it. Don't get frustrated with it. Don't suppress it, but get curious about it. And you can start by paying attention to the signs. There's always going to be signs. There's always going to be downloads. What is inspiring you right now? How will this change aid in that? Think about, is this transition bringing me closer to my goals or further away? Like, really ask yourself questions about the change that you are desiring to make for your life, because those will be really good indicators of kind of like where you are with things. I think that over the past year, when I was thinking about my switch to moving to Atlanta, I was thinking about like the pros, the cons. I was praying. I went on a fast. Like, I was doing so many things to really make sure that this was the right move for me and that I wasn't moving haphazardly, or out of, impulse. So I'm really glad that I asked myself these questions, and really thought about it. Also, which brings me to a thought that I just had. I started reading Power Moves by Sarah Jakes Roberts, and she wrote something so deeply resonant, and it's so yummy, and it's so juicy, and it's so like honest and real. And I'm wondering if you can relate to this. She wrote, "I have learned that when God causes all things to work together, it's because God is so holy that even messes I make along the way in the pursuit of his purpose cannot contaminate his holiness. That's not just my truth, it's yours too." Which brings me to my next point. Get comfortable with messing up. Get comfortable with things kind of not going how you see them, or like make room for error. It just means that you're living. Like, he will correct us. He will restore us. Like, you can't go too far off of his path without him kind of bringing you back in some kind of way. So get comfortable with being like, okay, even if I am not making the best decision, I'm gonna be all right. Like, it is gonna be used for my good. I'm gonna be good. You know what I mean? Like, get comfortable with that. Break up the sameness, break up the monotony. different things, right? Like take a different route to work, speak to the person that you always pass on a day-to-day. Just get comfortable with doing different things, because that will get you more easily acquainted with the feeling and the movement and flow of change. Because one thing that is constant in life is change, and if we can just kind of get in the rhythm of that, we could save ourselves a lot of pain and a lot of frustration. And my last point that has helped me so much is the power of zooming out. And by that, some of us are too zoomed in. Like some of us are way too zoomed in on and focused on a problem, an issue, why it's not working out, all the reasons it's not gonna work out, because we are so zoomed in. Imagine this, if you started a movie 30 minutes into it with no idea of the characters, the plot, how it started, how you got there, you would be confused. And I think similarly, sometimes with life, we will zoom into like this one moment so much without the context and without zooming out. It's really not as bad when you zoom out and you see how everything truly is working out for the betterment and how everything truly is working together. So one thing that has really helped me during this transition is that this is a puzzle or a scene to a way bigger story of my life. And I don't want to hang too much of my value, too much of, an extremity of what's going to happen in this moment, because it's a part of the story. It's a part of the story. Me being in Atlanta, me changing from being from New York and moving to Chicago and then moving to Jersey and then moving here, like it's all a part of the story. It's all a part of the testimony. It's all a part of what God is doing. So you just gotta let him work, let him be, and zoom out, stay tapped in, right? Like go within, unplug, figure out your compass. Like you're going to be all right. Like start over. Hello, I'm starting over right now. Like start over if you need to, have grace. Like all of these things are so important and so imperative as you are moving into who you're supposed to be, who you're called to be, because we all know that it's not the destination, it's the journey. And as cliche as that is, it's so honest and it's so real and it's so true. Focus on your journey, and because ultimately when you look back 10 years from now, 5 years from now, all of that, you will really see how it was so crucial to where you are right now. So that's what I got. That's what I had on my soapbox, y'all. There's so much I want to bring to you in this new season. There's so much that I want to do. But do me a favor and comment, like, and subscribe. I always say tell a friend to tell a friend, and just keep tapping in. There's so much that I want to bring you. There's so much that I want to share. So I can't wait. So until next time, friends, be well, and I will see you then. Bye.